Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs with Ridge, and the purpose of this video today is for all you gun owners out there. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard this statement by some folks? You don't need an AR-15. Funny thing about life is this, is that there aren't any solutions, there are only trade-offs. We live in a universe of finite things, which means oftentimes a so-called solution begets a whole nother set of problems that are called unintended consequences. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is we're going to say you don't need an AR-15, and then I'm going to provide you some counterpoints to consider if you're kind of on the fence, or maybe even try to explain to even you gun owners out there why you do, in fact, need an AR-15. Point number one, I don't need an AR-15. Okay, well I guess my counterpoint to that is, what is your experience with the rifle? Have you ever shot anybody with it? Have you ever used one in self-defense? Have you ever trained other people on it, how to use it in self-defense? In other words, what are your qualifications for making that claim on what is required for people to survive deadly force? You see, we've got a lot of people out there saying you don't need an AR-15 for self-defense, and these are people that have never even used one. They've never carried one, they've never had their life saved by one, they've never seen other people's lives saved by one. So in their universe, you don't need one because it has not happened to them. But here's this real truth about the situation, is that there are a lot of people that have had their life saved by an AR-15 rifle. The second point about not needing an AR-15 is that millions of Americans have decided that, in fact, they do need one. The AR-15 is the most popular rifle in the United States. There are literally millions of them in households across this nation. And the fact that people have deemed the fact that they do need an AR-15 is what matters here. You see, the problem that we have is that all the stories about people using the AR to defend their home successfully are not printed in the press. See, that goes counter to the narrative. But see, ARs are used all the time, every day in this country for the preservation of life. You have to understand the dynamics of a home invasion. We're talking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and yes, even 7 people that are hell-bent on hurting individuals in this home invasion. AR-15 is a great tool for that, and in fact these stories just don't get reported and how many times they actually are used to protect a home. We only hear the stories about children being shot with them, or in this case people in Orlando getting shot with them. That's what makes the news, but it doesn't cover the entire gamut of the year of people that actually use these rifles to protect themselves. That goes under the radar. Point number 3 about not needing an AR-15, crimes against people are bad. Crimes against people's bodies are bad, such as murders, rapes, aggravated assaults. You know, folks, I've seen people stabbed, I've seen people shot, I've seen people after they've been raped. I've seen brutal crimes committed against people in my life, okay? I've seen it firsthand. So I understand full well what criminals are capable of doing with and without weapons. The problem here is that you don't get to dictate what other people have to defend themselves in their own home. You don't get to dictate it, all you people out there screaming that you don't need an AR-15. Because the problem here is that if you don't have any experience with it, if you don't have any understanding of what criminals are capable of, and these home invasions, how brutal they are, you don't have a valid opinion about this. You don't get to dictate the tools people get to use to defend themselves. Counterpoint number 4. Banning these rifles will stop these mass shootings. Okay, well, that is probably not going to be true, especially if we look at international cases such as Australia, and we look at Nairobi, Kenya, if we look at Mumbai, if we look at Beslan in Russia, and all these other places where there have been hundreds of people killed in a single attack by people with rifles or any other methods, explosives. The problem is that in these countries that I just mentioned, that there is an absolute ban on AR-15 rifles and any other rifle that's semi-automatic magazine fed. And these bans led to nothing other than terrorist attacks and people unable to defend themselves. It didn't do anything there. It didn't do these bans. Oh, Paris. Oh, did I forget Paris? Oh, that's right. There were only 130 plus dead there. Maybe we shouldn't forget that one. And by the way, one of the most restrictive countries in the world when it comes to owning rifles. So here we have to think about this. Will banning ARs in the United States accomplish this goal? No. It will only embolden it, and the body count will get higher and higher and higher and higher. And furthermore, what you don't take into account is this, is that these rifles have been in existence for decades. These rifles have been in civilian hands since the late 1950s. I mean, we're talking 6 to 7 decades, and it's just in the last few years that these are getting demonized. The next counterpoint is this, is that a lot of these people say you don't need an AR-15 are blaming 60-year-old technology. Quite amazing that people can do that when they're blaming a 60-year-old design on all these deaths. You know, what I find amazing about these people and what they can't wrap around their head is that when they actually, if they would do honest research and they would honestly look at how many people are killed by AR-15s in this country, more people are killed with shotguns than with AR-15s. More people are killed with handguns than shotguns. Ergo, we've got to ban shotguns and handguns if you guys really want to make a difference and save just one life. Well, how about this? If you want to save one life, why don't we lower the national speed limit to 5 miles an hour? You say, but Reid, that's unrealistic. That's quite inconvenient. Well, it's quite unrealistic and inconvenient for people that want to protect their homes with them as well, that won't be able to have them if you want to get your so-called ban. And it's not about saving his life, it's about being convenient for you. The next counterpoint to this is of not needing an AR-15. Well, I'll tell you what, who does? Women and physically handicapped people should probably have one, being that it's a soft recoil and it's very easy to manipulate. You know, we think about these people all the time. We think people shooting AR-15s are these dudes in the military, and boy, they can just do it. But I'll tell you what, with these women out there that are slight of stature, and these people that got physical handicaps with their hands or their shoulders or their back, yeah, go ahead and let them shoot a 12-gauge shotgun or a 20-gauge shotgun. It ain't going to make for a very fun day. Hell, I don't like shooting those things, and I'm 185 pounds, okay? When we think about this stuff, guys, you know, you're really putting people at a disadvantage that need these kind of guns to protect themselves, and then taking that out of their grasp, to me, is pretty immoral. My final point to this is self-defense is a choice. You either choose to do it, or you choose not to do it. The people that want to ban AR-15s, these politicians, these loudmouth politicians like Dianne Feinstein and Chuck Schumer, and take your liberal Democrat choice, whatever their name is, that's going to be them, okay? They are the ultimate hypocrites, and here's why they're the ultimate hypocrites. As they demonize you from having these kind of guns, and they make you the bad individual for wanting to own these kind of guns, they're surrounded by security details that do have the very guns that they want to ban, paid for by our tax dollars. So they're really not against the AR-15, they're against an AR-15 in your hands, because they've got security detail that has these guns. They get it paid for by our money. It's really the ultimate in hypocrisy. And although they may go on and tout all these tough gun restrictions, and they may laud them and say how great they are and how effective they are, they'll say all those wonderful words in public about how many lives they're going to save. You know what else they're going to say? They're going to give you one hell of a eulogy at your funeral. If you found the information in the video helpful, subscribe to the channel, like me on Facebook, links down below. If you want to learn how to get some training on your AR-15 or any other rifle, come on out to Valor Ridge and we'll teach you how to do just that. This is Reid Henrichs with Valor Ridge reminding you, the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.